Let's have a think together about what artificial intelligence means. Have you ever seen an intelligent computer or robot or chatbot or anything like that? Well, if artificial intelligence means that a computer thinks like a human being, well, I don't imagine you're ever going to see that. Does a computer have a brain in the same way that we have a brain? That's just not going to happen. How about a computer acting like a human being, acting in such a similar way to a human being that you mistake it for a human being? Well, that's a Turing test. I don't think that's been achieved just yet, although maybe there have been some quite convincing things. Also, I'm not quite sure how helpful that would be. Well, if it can't think like a human and it can't act like a human, how about thinking rationally? Having a logical decision process. Well, that would be a pretty difficult thing to achieve. People have tried to do that. So we come though to the very last possibility, which is to act rationally. We want the computer to take rational decisions, and if the computer does do that, well, we can say in some way that it's artificially intelligent. But how do we get the computer to act rationally? That means to take consistent decisions which are the correct decisions in some way and get it right as often as possible. Well, the way to do that is to define carefully in a way that you can tell the computer when it's making an error, and you can give it the cost of an error. Now, if you can define a function which defines the cost of an error, and we can call this a cost function, then the computer knows, if you like, when it's making an error, because the value of that cost function will be high. Let's take an example. Let's imagine we're trying to get the computer to create an algorithm which gives credit to the right kind of people. It gives credit to the people that can repay the loans, and it refuses credit to people that can't repay the loans. Well, you can imagine in that situation, it should be fairly easy to define a cost function. If the computer has a decision which is to give £1,000 of credit to somebody that can't repay that loan, then you can see the cost of that decision is 1,000. So in that kind of way, we can define a cost function, and then all the computer has to do is to minimize the cost function. And if it can minimize the cost function, we'll say that in some way the computer was artificially intelligent. Now, how do we get computers to minimize functions? The answer is very simple. It's called gradient descent. To the extent that we have time, throughout this course, we'll look at gradient descent in more and more detail. Gradient descent is really the main algorithm that is behind computers seeming in any way intelligent. The fact that neural networks could take off at all was because somebody found an algorithm for gradient descent on these massive neural networks. That particular algorithm is called backpropagation, but we're not going to go as far as that. We're going to start with some very simple things. See you soon.